What's up, all you beautiful people? Welcome to another video. Today, I want to share with you some of the most impactful productivity ideas, strategy, tactics, tools that have served me on my journey. And if you guys don't know my story, I struggled with severe ADHD for the better part of 30 years until I was about probably 28, 29 years old. I really could not figure out how to get the F out of my own way and actually sit down, focus, resist distractions, and get things done. And so what I want to share with you are 7 of the things that have been the most impactful for me over the last 12 years as I really figured out and dove deep into the biology of ADHD, really dove deep into the neuropsychology of productivity. And really, I guess I'm what you would consider like a productivity nut at this point. I want to save you the time and energy of having to sift through all the garbage out there, because productivity isn't like, if you're spending more time learning about productivity than you are about actually implementing it, then you're doing it wrong. Number 2 is, if you're more obsessed with the concept of productivity than you are just about being effective, then you're also doing it wrong. So these are just 7 very simple, very tactical things that you can start implementing right away to become vastly more productive. So the first thing is Notebook and Sharpie. That is all you need. When it comes to productivity, a lot of times we overcomplicate things with these sophisticated softwares and apps. Like I'm guilty of this. I've used Notion, I've used Asana. Depending on which phase of my productivity journey you found me in, you would look and be like, okay, he's using this sophisticated software situation. The problem is that the more complex a system becomes, the less likely it's actually effective. The complexity becomes this shield. It becomes this veil through which you can't actually recognize that you're not being productive. You're spending more time on beautiful system design than you are on actual implementation. And time again, what I have found is that simple always wins in the end. And so for me, what I've been using for the last number of years now, and it's stupid simple, but very effective, is I have a big notebook, boom, boom, and I use a Sharpie. And every day I sit down, I date it, I write down what I'm going to do for that day, what the priorities are, all that, but I do it in a Sharpie. And I do it with a Sharpie because a Sharpie forces you to think big picture and stay out of the weeds. And you can only fit so much on a page with a Sharpie. So you have to be a little bit discerning in terms of what am I going to actually put here. But seriously, that process of like using my big motor muscles to write with a Sharpie on a big notebook what that day holds in store is the simplest, most effective process so far that I found. Now, you could use note cards, you could use pen. I don't really care, but I do think that there's enough research out there to support the idea that we are more likely to remember things and encode things in our minds when we connect our hands and writing to the activity rather than just typing it into a screen or tapping it onto your note-taking app. And honestly, like, another thing is when I rely on computer-based softwares and tools for managing my productivity, it's really easy for me to get sucked into the vortex of the computer or the phone, right? So if my to-do list is in Apple Notes and I have to pull that open, that's only one click away from being on Instagram. It's very dangerous. And so just having a notebook with a Sharpie keeps me locked in and away from all that. The second idea is I want you to create both a to-do list and a to-don't list. The to-don't list is simply, what are those 2 to 3 things that you know in your life are the things that detour you more frequently than not. They're the source of your most distractible activities. So that could be, maybe you play video games. Maybe that's a porn addiction. Maybe that's just scrolling social media. There's things for you that you know are like, if I stopped doing those things, it would move me towards my goals because I would have more time freed up. And so that's like removing the emergency brake, right? Disengage that before we try to push on the pedal. So that's number 1. Always have a to-don't list going into each day. And that's usually just 3 things at most of like, here's what I'm not going to do today. Here's what I'm going to avoid. Write those up on one side of the paper. On the other side, have your to-do list, but keep it streamlined. I break this down into your 3 to free. That is, what are the 3 activities that if you got nothing else done for that day would signify a win? The most important high priority activities. Those are your 3 to free. Next are your 5 to thrive. 5 to thrive are going to be like your less important activities, but they still need to get done and move forward, like the emails or admin meetings, things like that. But what you'll notice right here is you have 5 to thrive, you have 3 to free, and that's like 8 activities right there. And those are going to be like the most important high priority things that you could possibly do in your day. It's not a list of 20, right? The last part of my to-do list is 2 to do. So I have 3 to free, 5 to thrive, and 2 to do. The 2 to do's are like super not important. They're low importance. They don't move the needle. It's like walk the dog, take out the garbage, do some laundry, right? They're the things that we use to distract ourselves. Like when you sit down to do hard work, like we have 3 to free. For me, one of those might be writing a book, right? Well, one of the things that happens when I sit down to write a book is my mind immediately goes to, oh, I should probably go dust my bookshelf now. That would be a 2 to do. If I write down 2 things for that day that are just those 2 like meaningless activities that I give myself permission to do them, but no more. You don't give yourself 10 to do, like 2, that's it. And then you check them off and you get the dopamine of saying I checked them off. But right there, you have a list of 10 items. That's your to-do list, no more. Keep it simple. All right, third thing. This was a massive one for me, is time blocking. And you're probably familiar with time blocking, but it's still surprising to me just how effective it is. And the periods of my own life where I still do this to this day, where I don't time block for some reason, those days, they feel more misaligned. They feel like at the end of the day, when I look back, I feel like I drifted. It was not entirely clear how productive I really was. Like there's this feeling of like, yeah, it was a day, but it didn't feel tight. The days where I sit down and actually time block, which is most days, everything just flows. Feels really good. Now, everybody has a different time blocking process. I've experimented in the past with doing every 15 minutes and making sure that everything's back to back, right? But then as soon as life gets in the way and something gets pushed back, it throws the whole calendar off. So then people are like, well, as soon as my intention is screwed up, well, what was the point of doing this, right? So then you start to experiment with giving yourself more buffer between activities. That way, if something does get in the way, you can account for that and you can shuffle things around. You need to play around with whatever works for you, but there is value in not just writing down what you're going to do for the day, but actually putting it on the calendar and defining when are you going to do it. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. Number 5. This is number 4, actually. Number 4 is accountability. So one of the problems that you will run into is that the easiest promises to break are the ones that you make to yourself. So you might write down your to-do list. You might time block and put it on the calendar. You might have the best intentions of doing all those things. But if nobody's looking over your shoulder and the only person that you answer to is yourself, it's very easy to break those promises to yourself and say, yeah, I'll just push that back. Oh, I'll get that tomorrow. I'm not really feeling it today. I'm not in the right energy state. Whatever. You give yourself the excuses, right? So the hardest promises to keep are those ones that you make to yourself. I want to do this. This is my to-do. I want to be productive, right? But life has a way of getting in the way, and you have a way of letting yourself off the hook. So getting some form of external accountability is critical, whether that's a coach, whether that's an accountability buddy, a friend that you can check in with, or a coworker, whatever it is. You have to find a way to get external accountability beyond yourself, because you will let yourself off the hook. I'm telling you, if you want to be more productive, find somebody else to be productive with. Number 5, intention. Always know where you're going and what you're doing and why you're doing it. Where you're going, what you're doing, and why you're doing it. Always know. If you don't know where you're going, what you're doing, or why you're doing it, you will drift. This is crazy to me. That's the primary way our brain has of making us unproductive, of procrastinating, of distracting us, whatever it is. It does it through complacency. Your brain has this way of just lulling you into going through the motions. So you might show up for a meeting, you are on time, you're doing what the calendar said to do, but in that meeting, you're not really present. You've forgotten why you're there, what you're doing, and where you're trying to go. And so you start to go through the motions. And I'm telling you, like, productivity isn't about just getting more things done. It's not about movement. It's about actual progress. It's about being effective. And if you're showing up and you're just going through the motions, you're not being maximally productive. So you have to have a process for always maintaining your intention and knowing where you're going, what you're doing, and why you're doing it. Number 6, environment design. So focus, the way I define it, is the ability to resist distraction, right? Or another way might be, say, to direct your attention with intention, right? And the thing that stops us from directing our attention with intention is things that come along and distract us. And so you can work on your willpower. You can work on having more focus power, more concentration power. But the easiest way to actually resist distractions is just design your environment in a way where distractions don't occur in the first place. So that means designing your living space, your sleeping space, your workspace for those activities that are the primary purpose of that location. If you are going to your bedroom where you sleep at night, but you're also watching TV in there and playing video games and doing all sorts of fun activities, right? Then you're going to have a hard time falling asleep, right? And you're going to be distracted. But if all you do when you go to the bedroom is I turn off the lights, I make it really cold, and I go to sleep, then you're going to start sleeping better. In the same way with your work environment. But you really want to be thinking, what are all the different environments that I'm constantly stepping into throughout my day that are maybe not aligned with the actual goal that I have for what I'm doing when I'm there. So if you have a lot of distracting things in the kitchen, like when you go to the kitchen, it's to eat, to make food, maybe clean dishes, but you have a ton of other stuff in there that's like highly distracting, get rid of those. Same with the living room. Like, be really intentional that the room is designed in a way to make the activity that is the primary import there as easy as possible to get locked into. So start with your bedroom, start with your living room, start with your work area. Get those dialed in. Number 7, storytelling is the easiest way to increase your productivity. And what I mean by this is if you can reframe the story that you tell yourself about what you're doing and why it's important, you will attack it in a different way. And so a lot of times, the things that we procrastinate the most, it's because we tell ourselves stories that it's going to be difficult, that you're not good at that thing. So like everybody procrastinates doing their taxes because it's not fun and you're not good at it and you're afraid to make a mistake and blah, blah. It's all so tedious, right? But if you reframe that and you were to tell yourself a different story about your ability to compile all your taxes, to go and get your juicy refunds, then you will go do those activities in a different way. And so if there are things in your life that you consistently procrastinate, start by reframing the story that you tell yourself about that thing and why it's important to you. If you do that, it makes it much easier to show up, lock in, and actually get shit done. And that is 7 simple tactics, strategies that you can use. I'm curious, guys. Like, let me know down in the comments below which one of these have you had the most success with? Which one of these have you never experimented with? Let us know down below what you're gonna do here moving forward to take what you learned here and actually do something with it, so that this wasn't just, mental masturbation, listening to me talk to you about productivity. Don't be that person. Actually take this stuff and use it to go be more productive. And I'll see you guys in the next video.